Hey guys, welcome to the Life Hack Show. This is our final one in the series. This is number 8. My name's Greg Sellar, and we're going to get started very soon on Bondi Radio. We're going out live. Today, my very special guest co-host is Mr. Blake Worrall-Thompson. Thunderous round of applause from everybody. And yeah, we're going to get started. We're talking about motivation today. Does it exist? Is it a little bit of a myth? And discussing all things action. Today is a doing day. We're coming up to the end of the year. So let's set ourselves in the frame for doing some great things in 2018. So over to Bondi Radio. We'll see you in a second.
Pure Class A, high voltage, ultra live and direct. This is Bondi Radio.
Hey there guys, welcome to the Life Hack Show. My name is Greg Sellar, and we're really pleased to be bringing you the final show for this year. We're talking all things motivation today. As always, this space is the place to get in there and rip up all of our tragic thinking and behaviors in the hope of getting some better outcomes in life. Well, a good outcome on this final show. I've actually got a very special guest co-host today. His name is Mr. Blake Worrall-Thompson. Cue the applause.
Thanks for having me.
So just to give you a little bit of background on Blake, he's had a 13-year career, or are we a little higher than that now?
We're pushing 15 years.
We're pushing 15 years.
now.
Either way, it's a bloody long time. So a 15-year career in the fitness industry as a personal trainer, which now sees him as an author. How many books you written?
I co-wrote one.
Good.
So looking for the next one.
That's as good. We're taking it. A health and fitness coach, TV presenter who has helped thousands of people with his lifestyle coaching, his blogging, and his very, very, very successful online program, 6 Weeks to Sexy and 6 Weeks to Shredded.
Nailed
if you're
it.
a guy.
Nailed it.
Yeah?
Perfect.
Good. I think I don't know whether I want the sexy or the shredded. I think I'll take the shredded.
Yep.
And then just let the rest be. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Anything you want to add to that? Anything I didn't quite get right? What are you up to these days?
Well, a couple of things,
Yeah.
as most of us around here are. But looking to expand the 6W2S brand, Sexy and Shredded, and also into now the coaching, performance and mindset stuff, which after 14 years of the training side of things still enjoy. And I've probably expanded beyond that now with mindset and understanding human behaviour and taking it up to a new level, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like over the 8 weeks that I've done this, typically I've had a breadth of people that I've known from either the coaching business space or the fitness industry who have kind of something else to say other than just being able to train. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But it struck me the other day, like, for as much as we've kind of known of each other, we don't really know each other. I think this is the first time we've ever sat down and had a conversation. But one of the reasons my interest was tweaked was part of your recent journey is that kind of onboarding of the coaching skills and also the broadening of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, to be able to use with your coaching and clients, which I think is pretty much the missing link in that whole wellness story, because body, fine, but typically people fall off body because they don't have their headspace right. So why don't you tell the guys what your understanding of NLP is and how you think it helps what you or we do?
Well, I think, you said it perfectly in that, the health and fitness industry is very much sets, reps and broccoli, and for me, that's a great platform. And over a 14-year period, I've seen that will only get you so far. Human behaviour is the catalyst for everything. And, we as a society, unfortunately, are struggling to overcome obesity, overcome mental health issues. And I think a big part of that was the reason behind me wanting to expand beyond, my understanding of what it takes to get someone fit, what it takes to have someone healthy from a nutrition point of view, and mix in performance with general mental health, which is a struggle for a large percentage of us, and obviously males, it's a serious problem, has really opened my eyes to what it's about. And neuro-linguistic programming is one of many different modalities or processes that you can take from a headspace along with psych, and it goes down so many different lines these days, which is really exciting. And it's kind of grabbed my attention probably over the last 3 years, and then obviously knuckling down and doing it over the last 12 months has given me a huge insight into human behaviour, how we work, and also how we don't work as well, which is going to be a really interesting space, I reckon, over the next 3 to 5 years as people start to understand behaviour and what it actually takes to get results, happiness, fulfilment, things like that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was reading a stat the other day that by 2020, anxiety and depression are going to be the two biggest things that we have to deal with in Australia in terms of illness, mental illness, and also death, which sounds a bit ominous. Great. So today we're talking about the motivation myth. So the idea of, does it really exist? And if it does, how should we be working with it? Are we necessarily working with it the right way? What actually should be motivating us versus maybe how current society dictates that we should be motivated? And also, what is the relationship between motivation and action, and do we actually have it the right way around? So let me throw this out to you. First of all, motivation, does it exist?
It exists at certain points in time. One of the problems, I think, and I know you want to go down the social media path later, I think one of the big problems...
Let's go through it now.
Let's go now.
There is no plan. Everything I've ever written down just flies out the window, and we just go with the flow.
Perfect.
You want to go there, Blake?
We'll go there.
We're going there.
I think one of the, unfortunately, one of the big problems with us as a society is that we compare ourselves to other people. And the easiest way these days is to compare ourselves to the highlights reel of people through social media. And, a lot of my good friends in this space are quite strong in their social media, and they only show their kind of highlights and their motivation. I can guarantee and promise you that they aren't motivated the whole time.
Sure.
We go through stages where our motivation's high. We go through, stages where motivation's definitely not so high. And, I think for a lot of people, unfortunately, still they're waiting and thinking that one day everything's going to be click and they're going to be motivated from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep for 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And it's not going to happen. So if you are hedging your bets on waiting for everything to line up and for that moment where you feel this, incredible aura of motivation that just doesn't disappear, then you're going to be waiting for life. And that's really important. There's obvious extrinsic, and I know you want to go to this path sooner, but there's obvious motivational things that come up, like, I want to get my bikini body right for summer, or new year, new you, or it's my birthday and I'm 1 year older. There's things like that, but those things don't last. And motivation at times can get you started, but it's not going to keep you going forever. So, don't hang everything on the whole motivation factor.
Yeah, it's funny because regardless of when you end up watching this, it'll sit online forevermore. But we're actually doing it in December, and I find that this is quite a reflective time for a lot of people. And then what is it about that kind of 1st of January thing where people kind of go, oh, look, it's the 1st of January, it's a new year. I mean, I hate that tagline. I despise that tagline. A, because everybody uses that, but B, because why do people wait for the new year? What is it about the 1st of January that all of a sudden inspires them to create change? And we know that most people by the end of Jan / beginning of Feb have totally thrown everything out the window.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's each year it comes up, and each year people buy into it, and each year, as you said, it falls by the wayside by mid-Jan, Feb at the latest. And despite seeing a lack of results for so many people, so many years consecutively, people still get really excited about it. And I'm all for people getting excited.
But I'm for a party as well. I think any
opportunity
to have a party.
Yeah.
Have a party, do whatever you're going to do. But for God's sake, don't wait for the 1st of January to create change. If you think you need to change something, do it now. Do it today. Get started. I mean, a day's a day, a week's a week, and you've still got, 3 weeks before the end of the year, 2 weeks before the end of the year? It's like, you can get a lot done in that time. I just don't get the idea of waiting for this magical day where, or this is going to be the year where I get the job and I tell my boss this, or I really land my partner, or I become something that I'm not. And it's like, I don't understand that mentality.
Well, one of the things that I'm big on with my clients, and, I'm not judgmental towards those that come to me. Some just come for fitness and nutrition advice and whatever else, and everyone's at different stages. Some come to me because they've obviously seen my message and want to expand beyond that. And if they reach out and they want help with that space, and I get excited because that's the space that I want to move into. One of the things that's really big for me with those guys is that they're proactively, consciously choosing a better version of them on a weekly basis. So one of the things that we use is rinse, review, repeat. And what that essentially means is rinse what you've done, or review what you've done over the last 7 days. Rinse it, so kind of change it up. What can you do better? And then repeat it the next week. And if you're doing that over a 52-week period instead of a once a year, then you're going to have drastic changes over the course of a year, as opposed to this limp change that you have for the first 2 weeks of January before it drops off, and 2018 looks exactly the same as 2017.
Yeah, and I think I was having a chat just before we came on air to Blake, and I said, my main goal is to try and make no 2 years be exactly the same. And it could be with regards to work, it could be with regards to finances, it could be with regards to downtime, like how many holidays we choose to take or whatever. But as long as no 2 years are exactly the same, and it is some kind of forward movement, then I'm okay with that. And I'm not sure that people actually ask those questions enough. How am I going to make this coming year more or significantly different to what I'm doing now? And all of a sudden they get to a point where they look back and they think, God, what have I done for the last 10 years? And the years are getting quicker, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the other things that really holds people back is the perfectionist identity. And people want big changes perfectly placed right now. Whereas a lot of change is messy. It doesn't all fall into place, and there are going to be times where it doesn't play out exactly the way that you want it. But if you're consciously and consistently choosing to move forward, then over an extended period of time, over 52 weeks, it's going to look a lot prettier at the end of the year than it did at the start of the year, and it's going to be a lot more effective as well. Like, you're not going to make big changes in the next 7 days, but those small, subtle habits or changes over an extended period of time, that's where the big change comes. And that's where people just want this like amazing aha moment or amazing thing where everything's aligned. It doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, I got a friend, Kathy, one of my mentors, and she uses a great word in her keynote called transmogrification. And it basically means that idea that, you'll just sit around and wait for it to happen as if by magic.
Yeah.
And so it's that idea of like, oh, don't worry, I don't have to do anything, because eventually if I wait long enough, change is going to come to me, when we all know that not to be the case. So I guess the difference I want to understand at this point is what is the difference between motivation and something that motivates us? And I'll give you a quick example. Music motivates me when I work out. So if I go for a run and I don't have music, or I do have music, they're two totally different experiences for me. One I find a lot harder. And we all know the kind of psychological benefits of having music when you work out. So that is something that motivates you versus motivation, i.e. the written words that we see, as we scroll endlessly up Instagram or whatever. What is the difference between motivation and something that motivates us?
Good question. One of the things that I often get people to think about when they work out what motivates them is their why. And this is when you work out your why, it's very rare that something will actually get in the middle of it. So music probably isn't the perfect why, but deep down you have a why, or, which, I mean, you're in this space, so I would think that you might have a why. But a lot of people have this underlying why that gets them up and keeps them motivated. So, not sure that answers your question, but in terms of motivation and sustainable long-term motivation, if you can get clear on your why, then that will make a big difference. And for me, I get up at 4:45 every morning, Monday to Friday, which is quite early.
Kill me.
And, you know, girlfriends, whatever else.
Wait. Let's backtrack there. What time do you have to go to bed to get up at 4:45?
9:30-ish.
Okay. Well,
there's enough sleep there.
There's enough sleep there.
And my girlfriend and people in the past haven't really appreciated the alarm going off at 4:45 in the morning and kind of go like, how do you do it?
You could have just left it at your girlfriend.
I should have just left that.
If his girlfriend's watching this,
can we erase that part?
Let's
please?
just know I'm on your side.
Yeah.
Anyone who came before you, to me, doesn't exist.
They don't exist.
All right. It all just started with you and
part.
Blake. All right. Moving on.
Anyway, one of the things that they'll often ask is how do you get up at 4:45 in the morning? And everything that I do, and everything that we do, is a collection of the past, our experiences, our pain, our pleasure, and that's been a big catalyst for my motivation. Like, you know, in terms of my health and fitness, it's got a motivational why behind it. But behind my interest in headspace, it's got a really strong why behind it. And for a lot of people, their why will often come from a place of pain.
Yep.
And, you know, a lot of people, even in the self-development space and in the health and fitness space, have had a painful part of their past, which is a really strong motivation as to their why. So, not really answering your question, but a thought that I wanted to get across to people is the clearer you can get on your why, the easier you're going to find it to get up with passion every day and sustain that passion. Because, you know, in running your own business or life hits you down pretty often.
Yeah.
And if you're not clear on your why and you're not aligned with your passion, you can stay here. So I think that's really important to get clear on your why. Coming back to your motivation question, what is motivation?
Well, what I'm trying to get at is, I think people place too much emphasis on spending time that I've referred to. Sorry for all the cat lovers in here. I know we've mentioned this before on this show, but I referred to it as the dead cat bounce because it's a stock market trading term where they get this this momentary blip of activity and then it goes back to being dead. Sorry. But you know, it's the idea of people just scroll. They spend so much time, you know, and you see these stupid things on Instagram or whatever that, yeah, okay, you suck it in enough. It might give you a false sense of motivation, but it's a dead cat bounce. It's a little blip. It might get you out the door, but pretty soon you go back to whatever you did. And I just think if people spend too much time paying attention to all that sort of stuff, then you're going to get to a point where you end up looking back and you just hope your life away. It's like that idea of, you know, keep buying the lottery tickets, people.
Well, I think don't get me wrong, social media is a very easy distraction, and all of us, you know, Zuckerberg's got us all under his thumb in a way.
Yeah.
One of the big things that is important for my clients is to turn the mirror back on self. And when we start looking for external factors or we're looking for external drivers, yes, like you said, it might be a little speed hump, a little booster.
But it's dead cat bounce.
That is so graphic. Dead cat bounce. But
people.
But yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly that it's not going to last. So one of the big things that I think is really important is to understand the way that you operate. All right, and when you're constantly looking externally and not internally, then you're going to be on this merry-go-round forever. And one of my mentors, Kylie Ryan, says it perfect when she says the weightless woman. She's obviously talking about females, but this works for males and females. And she talks about the less baggage you're carrying, the easier it will be for you to find motivation. And one of the really important things like that, we've all experienced some kind of uncomfortable situations in our past, whether it's trauma, pain, whatever it is. The more you're carrying of that with you today, the harder you're going to find it for self-motivation. So, I think us as a society are shifting from, having coaching and counselling where it was this kind of, there's a stigma around it. You had to be batshit crazy.
Yep.
Language.
That's all good.
Is that right? To people understanding that you can be proactive and it's a healthy thing to have someone to talk to, and it's a healthy thing to reach out, and it's a healthy thing to be proactive and create a more fulfilled life for yourself, as opposed to waiting till death, divorce, debt, whatever, you need to bottom out before you go and speak to someone. And I think that's important, to constantly be lightening our load. And what you'll find when you do lighten that load is that motivation comes easy, as opposed to, Katie Williams just posted a great body shot. That's my motivation for the next 6 minutes until I go and have, 10 cocktails with the girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I had a friend who I spoke to this morning, and I said, "Oh, what are you up to today?" And she was like, "Actually, I'm going and having a counselling session." And I was like, "Oh, wow," And in my thought process was like, I wonder what that's about. But then on the other thought process is, it's so good to have somebody to talk to. And if you've never spoken to somebody and offloaded in a great conversation, and somebody who's actually qualified to just dig a little deeper below the surface with some great open-ended questionings to explore different possibilities, then I thoroughly recommend it, because, you're exactly right. The stigma around it is diminishing fast, and if you give it a go, you'll understand exactly what we're talking about. So within all of that, I've one last question in this first segment, and that is, as human beings, are we inherently lazy? Are we pre-programmed to follow the path of least resistance in most things that we do? And if we are, assuming what your answer is going to be, then how do we get around that? Like, what's the answer?
Yes, is the short answer.
Good answer. Good answer. That's what I was hoping you.
So we are pre-programmed to be very comfortable and stay in, as parasympathetic as possible, which is essentially our calm, relaxed nervous state, or our nervous system. And it's important to, for me, with any growth and anyone that I'm working with, I want to, what we call pre-frame. So essentially let them know before it happens. I would want you to pre-frame or understand that any level of change has a little element of messiness and a little element of getting uncomfortable. And it's not like, we're not programmed to be uncomfortable. We're programmed to be very safe and very guarded. And, if we look at our primal ancestry history, if you want to call it, from thousands of years ago, where they were primed to stay in their tribes and families and caves, as opposed to having to, run away from saber-tooth animals and things like that. So in our nature, saber-tooth animals, saber-tooth tigers.
They were tigers.
They were tigers.
Saber-toothed wombat.
Yeah, wombats.
Rat.
But we are programmed to be comfortable. So in a way, I'd want you to be compassionate towards that, knowing that that is our natural DNA, to be comfortable, and at the same time understand that for growth, for a more fulfilled life, for motivation, there may be things that you need to work through. There may be things that you need to challenge yourself, and know that that is uncomfortable. I don't know that some of the people that are big players in the motivational space and growth space, they're still getting uncomfortable. They're more comfortable with the uncomfortable because they've processed that whole journey a little bit better.
Yeah.
But they still get uncomfortable. They just know that it's part of the process at the same time.
And it is like a muscle. The more you step out of your comfort zone, like gradually your comfort zone increases. And so, the idea of, I'll give it a shot. And they also, at some point, have more to fall back on. So as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you just think, well, if it doesn't work, I'm only coming back to here. I'm not necessarily crashing and burning. All right, so we are going to head into some music, but some great tips and points there. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the internal and external motivations, and also one of my key things in life that I've had to overcome, want to overcome. So it's a bit of both. We're going to talk about procrastination. All right, sit tight. So, thanks for hanging in there, guys. Always good when you head over to the music to get something playing and there's a different screen up, but we're good to go for a couple of minutes. So, wherever you're watching on social media land, we are down at Bondi Beach today, and 'twas the week before Christmas. What date is it? 12. We got 12 days until Christmas, and what are your plans?
I am actually getting out of Sydney. Those of you that are in the east probably feel the same way at times. I love this place, and it does consume me from January to December. So I am out of here for 3 or 4 weeks, and so are you, aren't you?
Where are you going?
I'm going to Newcastle first, beautiful part of New South Wales, and then to Byron for Falls Festival. It's been 10 years since I did Falls Festival. And then Falls, yeah.
What is it?
It's I feel like it's a 3-day festival. 3 or 4 days. 3-day festival.
You can leave it there.
Yeah.
A 3 or 4 day festival in Byron Bay needs no explanation.
And then Melbourne.
And if you need an explanation, I'll look it up. And then Melbourne.
Catch up with the best mate who I haven't seen for a while. So everything but Sydney bound for that 3 weeks. Okay. And you're going back to the world's coldest place for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm going back to London. So just to see friends, really. Our whole social network is over there. So ciao to all the people in London. Whole social network's over there. So we're gonna get out, see everyone for Christmas, New Year. We'll be back in early Jan.
I hope you switch off for a few weeks. How do you go switching off?
Right now I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had I not finished that book, I've just written a 30-day LIFEHACK program. And I've got a big, thick, 320-page workbook, which I don't know where it came from, but it's there. Had I not had that finished, had I gone into a new year with that not done, and not able to show people in order to be able to have some conversations around it, then I would have been like bummed. Yeah. So yeah, it's good. It's good. Stuff's happening, stuff's working. Now I just got to get it out there.
It's I reckon a lot of people will kind of resonate with it's a challenge to switch off properly, especially if you're running your own show, which a lot of friends and family around the East kind of do. Like anyone who hasn't run their own business, I reckon it's really hard to comprehend and empathise fully with those that do, because you don't understand what it's like to run your own business and switch off. And then, you know, Sydney's pretty full on and pretty fast. So I do hope that everyone rests properly.
Leave him alone, people.
Yeah.
Just leave him alone.
To leave me alone. I won't reply to their text.
You can come back in January.
Yeah.
You'll be a little heavier.
Hopefully not too bad.
Yeah, and that'll make it all the more worthwhile. And so how often do you get back to London? Because you're English, right?
I'm English. The old man's over there.
Yeah.
I haven't been back there for 10 years, I reckon.
Really?
Yeah, I do love it. And you're obviously a happy-go-lucky person, but damn, those people are like miserable, aren't they? Or you don't find that? I'm just hanging out with the wrong crew when I'm over there.
Yeah, but I can be pretty miserable, so I'm adaptable. I can come over here and be all happiness and sunshine, and I can go over there and fit in. I don't think it's miserable. I think it's cynical.
That is, yep.
I think it's cynical. So part of that cynicism is you get great humour out of it.
It's true.
But the humour comes from sarcasm and actually seeing the worst parts of life, which are sometimes half true.
Yeah.
So that's why most of the great comedians, the great talk shows, the great whatever, they're masters at taking the piss.
Yeah.
Which I like. And here's not far behind, and then it literally falls off a cliff. Because when you go to America and try and take the piss, they do see the amusing side of it, but think that you get away with it because you're Australian or English.
Yeah.
So that has some good things, because I can say a lot of stuff over there that an American doesn't feel they could say to an American audience.
Do you still get laughs, or does it fall on deaf ears?
No, you get laughs, but you get a half laugh and a half like, oh my god, I can't believe you said that. And I was like, of course you would say that. Yeah. Why wouldn't I say it? Which I love, by the way. Like, I love that thing. They're kind of catching up. The C word's now banged around in quite a few TV shows. Yeah, for good effect.
Did we start the C word? We are pretty ochre.
Quite possibly.
It wouldn't surprise me if we started the C word.
And by the C word, we mean...
how do you even
clap.
go there? Yeah.
Clap.
Yeah.
So all good. So off to Byron to do what you're going to do in Byron, off to see your mate in Melbourne. And what do you think your biggest thing for 2018 is going to be? What's the focus?
I posted it the other day, actually, and it's a strange concept to most, unless they're in my space, but it's to lighten my emotional and physical load, which sounds strange, but I'm really enjoying over the last couple of years working with healers and energy people and constantly lighting and clearing stuff. So mixing the NLP, I'm actually doing a course in January, shout out to Dane Thomas, who's an absolute wizard, called Spiral, which is essentially clearing the 7 chakras, and just really enjoying the integration between NLP and clearing. So that'll be a big part of my world, and just leaning out my business world, moving more of it online, and moving more into the coaching. Are we on soon, or are you good?
Oh, no. So
you've got your little clock up.
38 seconds, so I'm just like...
What about yourself in 30
I'm weighing up
seconds?
what you've got to say versus...
Oh, yeah.
We can keep going if you want to. That's good. So spirals, weighing out the chakras, clearing out. Love it.
It's a good space. It's out there for some people, but a lot of people... It's like any of that self-development space. I feel like it's... Maybe I'm just... because I'm so deep in it, but I feel like more people are warm into it, and more people are understanding the benefits of it.
Well, it's also like meditation, 5 years ago nobody wanted to do it, but now everyone's into it.
It's black.
Good job. All right, we are back on. Stay with us.
Pure Class A high voltage, ultra live and direct. Bondi Radio.
Welcome back to the beautiful Bondi Beach. My name is Greg Sellar. This is the Life Hack Show, episode 8, with my super burly, brown, bronzed guy, Blake Worrall-Thompson. I was just thinking of all the B's.
I like that.
Bronzed, brawny. I got told there were 3 B's in order to make it in the fitness industry by Richard Chu, who used to own Healthlands up in the original Healthlands. Yeah, so he used to train all the people who were the kind of pioneer lecturers, the world aerobic champions, all that. He was like, there are 3 B's: brains, beauty, and brawn. He said, you'll only make it if you have 2 or more. He said, you look at all the classic people, he said, they're beautiful, they train well and hard, and they've also got something to back them up. And I've done pretty well on one. And I'll let you figure out which one.
I'll start with working on one, and I'll spend the rest of my life working on all 3. But good. Well done for getting one of them.
Oh, we're joking. There you go. Beauties, brains, brawn. Get those 3 behind you. You'll be successful in everything. So here we go for chunk number 2 of today's show. We're going to talk a little bit, and not too much because we touched on it before, about the difference between internal and external motivators. How would you define them? So what's an external? Let's start with that.
Well, in the simplest of terms, external is looking out, internal is looking in.
Sure.
In the simplest of terms. So I said before the break, there's room for both, in all honesty. There's room for both external and internal. Your more sustainable, long-term success will come with internal. So, the world that we live in, a lot of people have materialistic external drivers and factors and forces. And for some people, at different times, that works. And it may easily fall off the bandwagon at times as well. So that's the simplest of terms. And like I said before the ad break, I still think the most successful and resilient driver is your why.
Yep.
And when you get clear on that, you can, I think, withstand just about anything. Have you thought about your why? You,
Me
personally.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it before when you were talking, and the answer is yes. I had a bit of a thunderbolt, lightning moment. That one that everyone kind of
aha moment.
Yeah, sitting around waiting for. Where I just thought, okay, I've spent 25 years working in an industry where I rode a certain wave up, and I did really well out of it, but I always came from a different side of the industry. It was all about like the performance side, the workout side, the delivery side. So the one thing I've always worked on is the speaking and the delivery of training or facilitation to back up the idea that when the music goes on, you've got 200 people in front of you at a convention, you can give them an experience. It's never been about clearly.
Well, damn, you do look good.
It's never been about biceps, because I just don't have any. So the thing for me is even within that package of the industry and what it is and where it's going. When I understood more of what was going on in your brain, when I understood more about what was happening in the mind and the connection between the mind and body, for me personally, it was everything. Because I read, as I was going through stuff, particularly on fixed and growth mindsets, when I read Carol Dweck's book, and I've told this story before on this show, like I actually teared up. And I can't tell if it was because I was on the plane at 40,000 feet. You know how you always cry?
Yeah.
It's weird. So I couldn't tell whether it was because of that or the fact that she was spelling me out as a fixed mindset. And I'd always purposely sabotaged certain things throughout my younger years, particularly in my late teens and early teens, just because I always believed that I either didn't know enough, that I wasn't good enough, or that I was caught in the comparison game, which was like the worst thing for me to do. And so for me now, it's like with this new understanding, with all that I've done over the last few years in terms of research and in terms of learning and courses and getting accredited as a coach, how can you get that out to people who maybe aren't like us, who just rock up and turn up to their job and have questions about where am I going, what am I doing, how do I get out of where I am, and hit a particular stage in life where they kind of go, God, if I continue on this path for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I'm honestly going to probably look back and go, was that it? Which I find gut-wrenching and disturbing and heartbreaking that you get to the end of this one chance and you go, oh, I didn't do it.
I'm the same as you. It makes me feel sick and one of the I was talking with a client the other day, and we're talking that she's a parent of, she's got 4 boys, don't know how she does it, and she's got a really, really strong connection with her boys, which is such a beautiful thing to see, and especially not knowing that coming from a fairly dysfunctional family. But I was talking to her, and I kind of thought, like, there are parents or there are people that would get to the end of their lives, 60s, 70s, 80s, and look back and go, and they just have that moment where they're like, what did I just do? Or parents that haven't properly connected with their kids on their deathbed and going, oh my God, it's too late. And for me, do
you remember what the top 5 things are?
Yeah, I know this.
There was like an article maybe about
really
12
good.
ones that was just doing the rounds, and it was something like, I wish I'd worried less. Do you remember any of them?
Yeah. It was definitely, I wish I'd worried less. I wish I connected more with my family. I wish I'd not put so much stress and importance on work.
Yeah.
Was the third one, and then there were 2 others. But it was essentially, what are the top 5 things what are the top 5 regrets that people have when they get to their deathbed?
Yeah.
And I was one of the people to share it, and it's really insightful. And it just, I refer to society as the walking dead, and what essentially that means is that no one and I mean it in the most respectful of ways, but no one's really awake. You know, you do the same, you get on the same merry-go-round every day, you do the same thing. And 90% of what we do as humans is subconscious or unconscious, which essentially means it's a makeup of everything that's happened before, and we're not actually consciously choosing it, which in a way is good, because if we had to consciously make every decision and do everything, we wouldn't last very long. So there's a part of that that's really important, and there's a part of that that doesn't serve us. You know, doing a job that we don't like, we're in a relationship that doesn't serve us, we're hanging around people, you know, for social status or because we prefer to hang with people than be on our own. These things, and I look at it and it makes me feel sick that people can let 5, 10, 15 years go by and then look back and go, like, time is the most valuable commodity, and most of us aren't spending it very well.
What a good segue. Let's talk about time management. There we go. Bing! So, time management. One of the biggest things I had to overcome was serial procrastination. And I think for anyone to say that they don't procrastinate, they're seriously lying. But there is about 20% of people who actually are, you know, it's a really serious problem for them, in that it starts to affect their career, their relationships, their personal well-being, their health. I often call procrastination the D mode, because you get a lot of drama queens and you get a lot of dreamers. People who are so like, oh my God, you just don't understand what I have to do. You know, I'm so busy and I've got so much on my plate. No. And I'm like, yeah, serious drama queen. And then the other side's the dreamer, who's like, no, I wish I could kind of do that one day. Or, you know, again, transmogrification, hoping that somebody would come along and just strike you and everything would magically become better. With procrastination, do you think it's typically a time management problem, i.e. they're not structuring their day, or do you think it's an emotion management problem?
In a short answer, both. And the reason for that is not having time is just BS. Like, you just got to get rid of that straight up. And there's a number of things that I want to consider with procrastination. One is your value hierarchy. And everyone's got a different value hierarchy, but what you'll find is that when it comes to procrastination, it's very, very rare that you'll procrastinate on the things that are most important to you.
Yeah, that's that Pareto's rule of the 80-20.
Yeah. So what we have is we've got a whole bunch of values. It can be from 1 to 30 to 40. DeMartini talks about your top 5 being your value hierarchy, and within that top 5 you'll often have a lot of success and you won't have much procrastination. So for example, if I use myself as an example, and you're probably quite similar, knowing a little bit about you, growth and personal development for me is actually number 1.
Yep.
I never have a problem picking up a book, learning, evolving that space. I never procrastinate about it. If for whatever reason my tank was completely empty, I may on 1 or 2 occasions a year have procrastination or not want to do anything, but it's very rare. So you'll find that you don't need a huge amount of motivation, and you don't have a huge amount of procrastination when it comes to things that you value most important. And for, you know, one of the challenging things for a lot of mums is that their value hierarchy changes, and for everyone it changes, but they can go from you know, exercising their body and whatever else being number 1, 2 or 3 pre-kid to number 5, 6, 7 post-kid, and they beat themselves up about it. But it's just been that their values have shifted, and they're kind of, you know, beating themselves up that they don't have the same motivation or same drive that they did for you know, the fitness that they once did.
What's the take-home message?
Tune into your values and
don't have kids.
I did not say that.
Keep yourself your number 1 priority. If there's anything you take away from today's show, Blake suggesting.
I did not.
Blake suggesting.
I'm not saying that.
Keep yourself at number 1 priority.
Ever.
At the expense of all else. No, I just.
I've actually forgotten what your question was, though. It was something about procrastination and motivation, wasn't it?
The procrastination, it was just the idea of, is it a time management problem or is it an emotion management problem?
Yeah, so that kind of answers a bit of both.
I've really put you off now.
I've lost my train of thought.
It's all right. He's dissed his girlfriend. He's told you not to have kids. She's got no hope of having any children anytime.
If anyone's got a spare bedroom, I'll need it from tonight.
It's all about number one, eh?
Take away time management, because it's purely a case of what you prioritise and what's most important to you. And procrastination, from an emotional point of view, can play a big role. One of the things that a lot of people resonate with and struggle with is perfectionism or perfectionist identity. And that will often be the case where it's like, oh, but this isn't aligned, and I don't feel like that's good enough to get out to print or good enough work to do, and you procrastinate until it's perfect. So, and then there's just straight up fear and a lack of resilience that play a role as well. You know, often people that haven't experienced much or many challenges in their, upbringing or childhood and haven't had to strengthen that resilience muscle will often find, it's a bit too hard or it's a bit too scary, and for that reason they will struggle to take action as well. So it's kind of both.
Yeah.
In the most long-winded of possible answers you could ever get.
That's all right. That's good. Explanation and clarity is what we're after. I find it really interesting because the University of Ontario did a study called the Reception and Detection of Bullshit. And they got 845 volunteers and they gave them 4 possible scenarios. What they did was they made up, or they came up with the term pseudo-profound bullshit, where they looked at the... I'm not dissing him because I don't know him, but I'm just saying that's what the research was.
Yeah.
They looked at the Twitter feed of Deepak Chopra.
Yep.
And he had tweets like, attention and intention are the mechanics of manifestation, # cosmic consciousness. And just looking at your face there, trying to deconstruct what the bloody hell does he mean by that. They put a lot of the tweets in front of people, and then they also made up their own pseudo-profound bullshit. So they made up things like, a wet person does not fear the rain, as sayings, shoved them in front of people, and they said, look, do you find this stuff more insightful? Do you find it more profound in terms of your motivation and what it would allow you to do and for your feelings of goodness? And what they found was that the more you found it profound, that was a bit of a tongue twister there. Wow. The more you found it profound, you actually had lower levels of IQ and cognitive ability. You also had a higher propensity to believing in the paranormal, to holding religious beliefs, or for being suckered in by conspiracy theories. Comment. It's a lot to take in on that. But basically it's saying, look, if you sit there and just think that it's what we were talking about before, that the world is going to change and that you procrastinate on the basis of these kind of feel-good feelings at the expense of action, which is really what we need to get into, then you are going to be suckered into a life that just has you sitting there doing nothing. You will be the ultimate procrastinator. You will never get anything done.
One of the hard things for a lot of us is just to stay in our own lane and focus. A lot of energy is actually, it's all good to have little bits of, little snippets of motivation, but a lot of energy is going to waste when you actually really need it for yourself. And, part of it comes back to what I said about your distractions and your internal baggage that you're carrying is making, you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Of course you're going to struggle for, motivation. Of course you're going to have procrastination. Stay in your own lane and focus.
So when you say staying in your lane, you're talking about in terms of what?
Well, comparison, worrying about what everyone else is doing. Yeah. Personally, and I've had some arguments with some people who think otherwise, but I don't watch the news. I don't worry, and everyone's like, oh, but it's it's this and it's that, and it's the most negative, fear-based 30 minutes on TV that kills people's dreams. And yeah, cool, we kind of want to know what the economy is doing and things like that, but at the same time, what if you spent that 30 minutes with your partner? What if you spent 30 minutes having a direct impact on your world as it stands right in front of you now, instead of worrying about what date Prince Harry's getting married and like what Kim Kardashian's done in the last 7 days. What if you did what you could right now to impact your direct world and have a positive impact on that? Like, how different would things be if your thought was, instead of what's happening all over there, how can I have the most positive direct impact in my space with the people closest to me right now?
Yeah, Seth Godin has those circles of influence where, you know, you put all of the stuff that are your goals or your thinking into the idea of either you can, it's just concern to you. So, you know, Trump, I can't change it. I don't even live in the damn country. I can't, whatever, it's just there. So it's of concern, but I can't influence it. Then the next is influence. What is the stuff that, let's say I wanted to have a conversation with my boss about decreasing the number of hours that I worked on a weekly basis so that I could work, or let's say I wanted to work from home 1 or 2 days a week. I need to have that conversation. Now I can influence it, i.e. I can go to my boss and say, can we have a conversation about this? But ultimately, it's going to be up to him to decide that. And then you've got the stuff that you can control, which is ultimately just going to be you. And anything outside of you, you can only ever influence it, or it will only ever be of concern to you. But most of us, like you said, place so much time and effort in that circle of concern that it's just wasted energy.
One of the most interesting social experiments that I've ever noticed, although we wouldn't call it an official experiment, was last year. I did a video on Trump when he got elected, and straight up, I know nothing about politics and I do not care in the slightest. What was really interesting to see is I pretty much said on this video, I said, you know, everyone's worried about Trump. How about you worry about your own world and how you can have a positive impact? And the amount of like hoo-ha as a result of that, people obviously in fear mode and getting wound up and passionate about it.
And by hoo-ha, he means controversy for our American listeners.
What was interesting is the people in the self-development space, the happiest, most fulfilled people I know, not even a ripple. No talk of Trump. They were just on their own. And everyone's like, oh, they're so selfish, they're worried about that. Well, no, they're having a larger impact than a lot of people who got razzled at my post. But there wasn't a ripple. Like they're not affected by external things. Yeah, I don't think Trump's a great dude, for sure. But I'm also aware that my biggest impact isn't on getting loud about Trump. It's the people in front of me and how I can have positive impact on that. And it was such an interesting, like, such a diverse difference between everyone in the health, fitness, headspace world, not a ripple, and everyone else who was just like absolutely savage about it. It was really interesting to see.
So give it up. Worry about yourself.
Is the short message.
Yeah, Blake's third bit of wisdom today. Seemingly all to do with him. All right, moving on for the final section before we head out. And I guess the biggest thing is, how do we take everything that we've done? We've had some ideas and some great stuff off you for, I think the biggest key takeaways are around the why. You know, questioning the why are you doing it? The idea of working around procrastination. Let's say we can do all of that. I think we've got motivation and action the wrong way round. I don't necessarily want to put if I go back to the run analogy, I don't necessarily want to put my shoes on to go for the 5 or 6K run. But I find that once I do, I get out the door, I'm at 1K into it, and things are cooking with gas. I'm doing okay. I'm fine. You then get to the 3K mark, I turn around, I Coogee, I come back, and I'm starting to feel good. I know I'm on the home stretch. The motivation increases. Last 2Ks, I'm powering home. I finish it, and I'm on a high. Now, if you take that and you flip it, if I had have waited to be motivated, I never would have got out the door. So sometimes I think we've got this idea of like, I need motivation before I get started, whereas I'm kind of saying flip it, get started, and then eventually the motivation will come. And typically it snowballs. Wagwan.
I'm with you. And one of the things to consider is that it gets to a point where if you're talking about learning a habit or learning a new skill, is there's a bit of effort required until it's subconscious. So if you think about riding the bike, I don't know how well you ride a bike, I don't even know how well you drive.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
And at driving.
And at driving. So if you think about those, I would like to think we're at a point now where you don't need to think about it. Hopefully. Although your reverse parallel parking is still questionable. But most of it, you're pretty
That's what the cameras are for. The
So
beep
Greg's at a stage now where he's past that motivation. You will require some kind of willpower in that first stage, which is frustrating and challenging. But if you know the stages of learning or the stages of developing a new skill, you'll get past that and it will move into the subconscious where it just kind of happens. And that's where you don't require willpower. So yes, to get started, you do require a little bit of willpower. Willpower and motivation might be slightly different. But if you are waiting for motivation, cool, it might come to you on the 1st of Jan, or it might come to you on your birthday, or it might come to you when your partner breaks up with you, or when there's a death, or when your doctor informs you that you've got some kind of illness. And unfortunately for so many people, motivation is reactive to shit hitting the fan as opposed to proactively changing. And motivation or change starts now and it starts tomorrow. It doesn't start when you bottom out if you choose to be proactive about it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I don't think anyone's motivated. You said at the top of the show, nobody's motivated all the time, but I think you can move towards your goals and be motivated to move towards your goals 100% of the time by just doing the right actions. Get into that habit of doing stuff, even if you work out after a while that some of the actions haven't got you to where you need to be, then that is the feedback to just course correct.
Yep. Which is, in my eyes, review, rinse, repeat, where, even for an example, I talked to one of the girls about doing the 50k run in March next year in New Zealand. She said, I can't run 50k's. It's like, none of us can right now. But with consistent habits between now and then, we'll work our way up to it. And some of these things are scary, losing 10 kilos, using 20 kilos, creating a 6-figure business, whatever it may be. It's what action, don't worry about the big picture. What's the action that you can take in the next 24 hours that moves you that little bit closer?
It's funny, a friend of mine, shout out to Matt Church, used an ancient Somalian proverb where it's like, it's one thing to start to what did he say? It's one thing to pray for rain, but start walking. It was like, you can sit around praying all you want, but at the end of the day, out the door, go get that water. And I think it's really a great proverb to actually say action is going to trump everything. So, at this point of the show, I usually ask my guests to bring in a book that has really rocked their world.
This is going to be a surprise.
Is this your bag?
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
So this is a book that has probably maybe not changed your life, or maybe it has, but it's done something to move you forward. Maybe what were some of the key takeaways? Just 2 or 3, and yeah.
I do things a little bit different. So this is actually the book, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but what it is my journal. And I am sick for self-development, as you may know, and I've spent thousands, I'd go close to $150,000, $200,000 on self-development, and it's been extremely valuable. And at the same time, one of the things that was really big for me over probably the last 12 months is more self-awareness, as opposed to, here's another book on this and here's another book on that. And journaling has probably had a bigger impact for me in the last 6 to 9 months than any book or any course I've done.
Great.
Created massive awareness, and it's one of my favourite tools now to teach my clients how to journal and how just to be more conscious, because despite the fact I was, learning so much from a self-development point of view, my biggest aha moments and my biggest change has actually come from journaling. So
how often do you write in it?
I go through stages, like at the moment, where I'm writing a lot, and then I'll pull back a bit. It's weekly, and then there's moments where I'm having lots of kind of moments. Obviously more when I'm settled, and probably over Christmas and New Year's when I'm not doing a huge amount. The subconscious will become conscious because I'm very relaxed, and some bigger thoughts will be coming up. But, you know, even an Instagram I did yesterday was like, something in the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours that we do say or think will be detrimental to our growth or to moving forward. And most of us can't identify that, and that's where I really like journaling, is being able to get clarity on what is holding us back, what beliefs aren't serving us, and what we can do different to grow and move forward.
And do you ever go back and read the stuff that you wrote, or you just go forward?
No, I don't. I know a few people that do. No, I don't.
It's just about getting it out.
Yeah, and a lot makes sense when you get it from your head out. And it's again, you know, one of the things I said earlier is about lightening my internal load. It lightens your internal load massively, journaling. So it really has been a catalyst and such a big thing. And in all honesty, like, I am the #1 fan of personal development, but if I had my time again, I'd be having everyone starting with journaling as opposed to going and spending thousands of dollars on courses. Just my personal opinion.
Great. So go buy yourself a journal. Yeah, it's just a blank book, right?
A blank book. Buy yourself a journal for Christmas. Start there.
There you go. The ultimate Christmas one. And in fact, you can go and buy blank books on Blake's website. That was another tongue twister. But yeah, definitely. Great point. And a really interesting point, actually, because we talk a lot about like gratitude journals, but that's more about one thing, whereas an actual journal is about everything. It doesn't have to be about gratitude. It could be about the goods, the bads, and the uglies, right?
There's plenty of ugly in there, hence the reason you'd never want anyone else to pick up your journal.
Good.
Ever.
He'll print it one day in his biopic. All right, so massive shout out and thank you to my guest co-host today, Blake Worrall-Thompson. If they wanted to go and find out more about your online programs, if they wanted to follow you on Instagram or Facebook, where can they find you?
Well, there's a little bit on my name, Blake Worrall-Thompson.
Do you want to spell the Worrall-Thompson?
WORRALLTHOMPSON.com for all information on kind of coaching and obviously the 6-week program. And that's my, I think the word you use is handle, isn't it?
Handle.
I think that's the official term. That's my handle at Instagram as well. If you are looking for some external motivation,
down with the lingo we are with all the kids. Cool. Anything else?
Buy yourself a journal for Christmas.
Buy yourself a journal for Christmas. Okay. Pick them up at any good bookstore or self-help store. So listen, from me, that was the last in our 8-part series for the LifeHack Show. My plan is to see you at some point again next year, so keep an eye out for that. And it's been such a joy to step into your world. As always, if you want to step into my world, you can connect with me on Greg Sellar, that's SELLAR.com, or any of the handles on social media, which again is just my name. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great end of the year. We are going back to some music. Ciao for now. See you later.